Go. In three, two, one, you're live.
Hello, welcome to Arts and Antiques. I am Bridget Ginter today, filling in for Elizabeth Stewart, who is on assignment. Today, we have a special episode dedicated to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. Today, we will be welcoming Greg Freeland, who is the board president of the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee. Sorry, not community, but community works too. Committee here in Santa Barbara. And he will talk to us about some of the very special events going on in town this weekend in conjunction with the holiday weekend. Freeland's books include Music and Black Community in Segregated North Carolina, It's All Right, and International Environmental Justice Competing Claims and Perspectives. He has been awarded numerous awards, including from the National Endowment for the Humanities Fellowships to Harvard and the University of Wisconsin. In March of 2021, Mr. Freeland was profiled in the Atlantic as well. So I want to welcome Greg Freeland. And then we also will be joined this afternoon by three middle school and or high school students that won the top three essays for this year's contest. So for this first half hour, we have Casimir Graham Chopa, who's one of the three finalists, and he'll share some of his essay. And yeah, excited to have you here. Well, let's start with Greg. Hello. Hi. Can you tell me a little bit about the Martin Luther King Committee in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, did you want me to just tell you about the committee, or do you want me to review what we're going to be doing? Yeah.
Both. So first, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the committee, and then you can tell us a little bit about what will be going on this weekend.
Uh-huh. Well, the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee is basically a committee, committed to carrying out the, ideals of Martin Luther King. That is of fighting for justice, equality, and so on. And um, and we basically just do one big event a year, which is to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but we also do other things. For instance, we're involved with Juneteenth, we're involved with Earth Day, and so on, where we have a table set up and we have brochures out there talking about, say, for instance, if it's a table at the Earth Day, we have brochures out there about how Martin Luther King was into environmental justice issues as well, that not many people know about. Um, and we support other organizations. For example, we're involved with the Community Environmental Council. We do various things together, and we do things with the Santa Barbara County in terms of environmental issues, building issues, and so on and so on. So yeah, we're quite busy.
It just sounds like it. Yeah.
But this weekend is our big weekend. And tomorrow night, as Casimir and so on, your guests, other guests know, would be the top poetry awardees, student readings. We would be up at it would be a Shabbat service up at Benai Beret. That's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And that's at 1000 San Antonio Creek Road. So you want to come up and listen to that. That's going to be very nice. And when you look at some of the titles of what the students have done, you'll understand that, yes, I need to be able to listen to this. They're all very good and they all speak a great message. That's tomorrow night.
Right.
Saturday, we're going to have something called a ring shout.
A ring shout?
Yeah, a ring shout. Yeah. Um, it's at 11 a.m. It's going to be at Trinity Episcopalian Church on 1500 State Street. Now, the ring shout is a spiritual kind of worship tradition from West Africa. And it's preserved in the Geechee people down there in South Carolina along the U.S. coast down there, Georgia, Sea Islands, and so on. And it features a counterclockwise circular movement, call and response, singing, rhythms, hand clapping, stick beating, which replaces drums, which were forbidden during slavery, to achieve some kind of connection. So this demonstration is going to combine these dance practices. And it'll be meant to pass down a practice housed within the African American tradition and to relive a practice deeply rooted in African American history. So that's at 11 a.m.
And that's on Saturday.
That's on Saturday,
That's on Saturday.
11 a.m. at Trinity Episcopal Church,
Okay.
State Street. Very nice church. You can't miss when you go by.
Yeah, I think I know the church you're talking about. Yeah.
And then right after that, at 6:30, 3:30 rather, there's going to be a documentary on Martin Luther King. It's a CEC Hub, Community Environmental Council. They have what they call a hub right there at 1219 State Street, sort of across from the Granada Theater. So easy to find. That's going to be a screening. And this screening is done by Sam Pollard. It's about J. Edgar Hoover's attempts to discredit and humiliate Martin Luther King through this surveillance and wiretapping. And if it uses archival footage, old film, television clips, and lots of interviews with historians. Spike Lee's, Pollard was Spike Lee's longtime editor, by the way.
Okay.
And he sort of crafts a compelling and portrait of his relentless quest to destroy one of our heroes. So it's based on recently declassified files. And so that's going to be Saturday at 3:30. And
Well, sorry, you cut out a little bit. What was the name of the film?
oh no, yeah. The name of the film is MLK/FBI.
Okay.
Simple as that. That's all.
Okay. Yeah.
MLK/FBI.
Acronyms. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty long, but once you start watching it, fast. So Sunday, we call it just a worship of the service of your choice. Just go out, and send some prayers out to people, all the bad things that happen throughout the world, pray for people on that day. And, maybe, give a little gift to Martin Luther King, some love. And on Monday, which is our big day, I suppose.
Yeah.
That morning starts at 9 a.m. Speakers, speak traditional Native American dance performance and so on. And after that, we march up State Street in what we call the Unity March to the Arlington Theater. And there'll be some music playing there to greet people when they come into the Arlington Theater. We'll have someone sing, they'll lift their voice and sing. I will give a little welcome introduction. We'll have local people speaking, Salu Carvajal, Monique Lamone, and Randy Rouse, our mayor, and they will give a little talk. And then we'll have the essay and award program, where students will read their award-winning essays. And then who's the speaker? Who is a Leah Robert Peters. She is the daughter-in-law of Martin Luther King. She's married to his youngest son, Dexter. She's a great speaker, and she's going to be speaking, and she's going to be talking about Coretta Scott King and the role that she played. So much is talked about, Martin Luther King and so on, but Coretta Scott King is a powerful force, and she did quite a bit. And she needs some recognition, and she will talk about that for all the women out there.
I agree. I like that. I fully support.
There's a woman behind them for sure.
Yeah, I kind of knew that quote was going to come.
Yeah. So her time is due. And then the last event will happen at after this. Will it be an author book talk out at the bookstore, out at Chaucer's bookstore.
Oh, at Chaucer's. Okay, awesome. And that's on on Monday still?
And it's 6.
Okay.
Yeah. And the writer is a Ren Brown. And he wrote a book called The Family Business. Now, discover the family business from Hollywood. It discovers this family business from Hollywood to Broadway to music venues around the world. It's a celebration of Black artistic achievement. So the family business is a beacon of inspirations. is authored by Ren Brown, who would be there, of course, talking about this, who is an actor, director, and producer. And his family uh, can be traced for over a century. They influenced American culture and the arts. So this is what this is all about. It's a rich tapestry of history, personal narratives, and visuals that capture the essence, particularly during the era of Jim Crow. So it's not merely a chronicle, it's a tribute to the resilience and talent of Black artists who have bravely carved out their space in the entertainment industry. So that's The Family Business, name of the book. And that is going to be at Chaucer's on 6 o'clock, 1321 State Street out there in Loretta Plaza. And that was for our event for the weekend.
Yeah, that's a lot of events happening. I love it. I wanted to take the opportunity to sort of ask a little bit more about this essay contest
Mhm.
and how it came to be and who was invited to submit. And
Yeah.
then maybe we can talk a little bit to Casimir about his piece.
That'd be
Yes.
great.
Yes. We'll get to you, Casman. I don't know the beginning of this event. I just know what it's all about. I've only been on the committee for about 4 or 5 years, and this is going on. I used to come to them, of course,
Okay.
for their
Well, maybe
assistance.
let me ask Casimir, how did you become involved in this contest and how old are you and what school do you go to?
I go to the Riviera Ridge School, which is the new name for Marymount
Right.
of Santa Barbara, and I first got involved in the essay contest through our school, which gives us the option of submitting these essays or poems each year, and the opportunity really attracted me because I thought Martin Luther King Jr. is a great person, and it's just been such a great opportunity.
And so your school told you about this essay contest, and your piece is called Like the One King Imagined. So I want to sort of ask you a little bit about, so you got the prompt for the essay. What sort of went through your mind when you were first trying to figure out what you wanted to write for it?
Yes, the prompt we gave us was a quote from Dr. King at the Alpha Phi Alpha's fraternity's 50th anniversary. And
Oh,
the quote is, "We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity." And that quote really spoke to me. So right off the start, I had a good amount to write about. And I just kept thinking about how this quote would interact with the times that it was said and who he's talking about when he refers to these leaders. And then that got me thinking about how it would apply to us today. Which leaders would he think is in love with money, and which leaders would he think have become what he has wanted? And I just really thought that would be a great thing to write about. That how can we be those leaders today?
I love that. Would you like to read your piece now?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
A little less than 70 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. said these words to a crowd gathered in Buffalo, New York. As with any quote, you wonder why the person said that. At that time, there were many leaders. So if society needed ones that weren't in love with money and publicity, there must have been many leaders that were. Who is King referring to when he talks about leaders in love with money and publicity? Are they the ones who jailed peaceful protesters and fought against voting rights? What type of leader would King want to replace them? I believe that that last question is more important than others. A new question rises from that one, though. How can we be those leaders? Being a Baptist minister who is out without pride, he wouldn't admit it. But I believe King perfectly exemplified the characteristics of love and justice for humanity. He spent his whole life preaching social justice to a government and people who didn't want to hear it. He was killed because of that. And I believe King was a great man for that reason. How how can we reflect those principles in our own life though? We We can become more civilized and just by showing real kindness to others. Many schools, health and wellness curricula talk about helping each other through small acts of kindness. And I believe that one day those acts can be as powerful as kings. I highly doubt any of us will make as big of a difference as he did, but that doesn't mean our actions don't matter. If every single person were mean to each other in everyday interactions, King's message wouldn't change anything, nor would it if we were all nice to each other already. That message, though, showed a mostly spiteful and segregated society that the possibility of being kind to one's neighbor was on the horizon. I believe when enough people are truly just and love the rest of humanity, I believe the world will be just like the one King imagined. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Casimir. That's really
You're welcome.
beautiful. I like I like how you talk about how you believe kindness will heal the world.
As opposed to militancy.
Yeah, as opposed to militancy.
That was, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder, where do you see that in your community, in your school? How how did you come up with that, and do you see that in your life?
Well, segregation in our general society of the United States isn't gone yet. It's far from it. And the impact is if you think how, even in your community, how if there was a problem, let's say at your workplace, at your school, and if you try to solve it with petitioning, with protesting, with being a good person to those people who are being mean with you and asking for versus just yelling and being and trying to like take force of the oppression, it would be quite hard to do that. And I find that King's method of peace and kindness towards others really, especially his leadership at the Southern Christian Conference, really just helps him. It helps all of us just show how being kind is just a better idea and it helps more, and how our society has changed so much more since then to something much closer than what King would want.
I agree. I kind of I wonder too, and maybe let's talk to Greg Freeland a little bit more about this idea that Dr. King is asking who are these leaders, and need leaders that are less in love with money and power than they are about sort of getting down to what values our community really cares about. And I wonder, what do you see any leaders today that you would call out as being leaders that Dr. King would align himself with and be proud of our progress, I guess you could say?
Yeah, well, it's easier to talk about leaders in the past who have, like Nelson Mandela and so on. But we know that what's going on today, and so that's very clear about who the people are. I just want to say, no, Kashmir, he's very good and that was very astute. And if he represents the students out there, then we're in good hands for later on.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel a little relieved after.
Right. And I also want to say too that this is announced to all the schools. So we have a lot of these essays to read. So I'm just saying so that you know that his is very good.
It, it
He's-
was very good.
so all the schools are participating here.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's see. I think we're going to be wrapping up real quick for a short break. And when we return, we're going to have a few more students from this essay contest join us. And so let's take a short break talking with Greg Freeland. Here he is the president of the Martin Luther King Committee here in Santa Barbara, and has talked to us about various events going on this holiday weekend. And we just heard from one of the essay finalists, Casimir Graham Chopa, and he will be reading his essay this coming Monday at the Arlington Theater. And also, I believe, Dr. Freeland, you said also tomorrow they'll be reading as well. So we got some practice in reading reading your beautiful essay before another live audience over this weekend. So again, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk a little bit more with Greg Freeland. This is Bridget Ginter in for Elizabeth Stewart on Arts and Antiques this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Your other guest is coming in.
Okay.
Both there and
Thank you, Casimir.
Thank you, Casimir. That was great.
I'm impressed that he has the perspective he does. I'm 65 and I feel the same way in terms of the protests and all that yelling and screaming and so on. And it's like, it's like there's got to be another way. And I'm grateful that he's around. Okay. You ready to start the next segment here?
Right. And I just want to make sure. So I have Stella Burnett right here. Hi, Stella. I'm Bridget. I'm going to be chatting with you.
Okay.
And then I have Thorin Rasmussen. I'm saying your name right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi.
All right. And I'm going to let you have another 20 minutes. All right.
Okay.
'Cause we're at 21 right now, so we're good.
Excellent.
All right. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hello, welcome back to Arts and Antiques. I am Bridget Ginter, filling in for Elizabeth Stewart here this afternoon. Today on this special episode, we have been dedicating it to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. We've been talking with Greg Freeland, who is the board president of the Martin Luther King Committee here in Santa Barbara. And we've been discussing the various events happening this weekend. In addition to, we have 3 essay finalists that are going to be reading part of their essays that they submitted for this essay contest in regards to Martin Luther King. And then this next half hour, we have Stella Burnett, who's going to join us and talk a little bit about her piece and read it for us. And then we have Thorin Rasmussen. So welcome, in addition, welcome back, Greg, and welcome to Stella and Thorin. Hi. I would like to ask Stella, how old are you and what school do you go to?
I am 13 and I go to the Riviera Ridge School.
Okay. And what about you, Thorin?
14 and I'm good. I go to Carpinteria High School.
Carpinteria High School. Okay. We had a class, your classmate, Stella, Casimir, on just now. And he was saying it was, he found out about the essay contest through the school. I just wanted to, is that the same way you found out about it from your school?
Yeah, it is. Every year that I've been here, we've had a kaleidoscope class, and that focuses on world religion and things like that and history.
Okay.
And every year you write a response. It's an assignment that you do. Everybody does it. You get to choose whether you submit it into the contest. So that's how I heard about it.
Okay. Awesome. And Thorin, how did you hear about it?
It was an assignment our English teacher put out, and we had the opportunity again to submit it or just keep it for ourselves.
Okay. And Casimir indicated that you were all given a quote, and that was sort of the basis for then how you ended up doing your assignment. And I noticed, so I guess what we'll do is we'll start with Stella and talk a little bit more about her piece. You have a really beautiful quote from your piece, Stella. And it was actually featured for our listeners. If you want to go to the Santa Barbara Independent, Stella's work was quoted in the Independent. And you say, "Dear Dr. King, it's me, a dreamer that woke up in your tomorrow." And that's a really beautiful quote. It actually, when I read it, I kind of gave me little chills, just because it is so poignant and honest and pure in the way you begin your work. So how did you kind of come up with this idea that you'd be writing a letter in response?
Well, given the theme, I thought it'd be really interesting to write as if my piece was going to be delivered to Martin Luther King himself, almost like reflecting on how what we've done compared like what the current situation's like compared to what it was like when he was alive.
Mhm.
Almost like have we like lived up to what he really wanted or what we could do or stuff like that.
Almost like he's a teacher and you're asking for feedback. Give us some feedback. Okay, I really like that. Would you feel comfortable reading your piece here now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Here we go. This is Stella Burnett, and she's going to be reading her piece.
A letter to Dr. King from the future. Dear Dr. King, it's me, a dreamer that woke up in your tomorrow. I thought you should know your voice still walks here, not as an echo, but as a heartbeat, steady beneath the noise. It is different today. Different, both good and bad. We don't have all the answers you marched for, but the world still lingers within your visioned shadows. Your light did not die that day. On that balcony, it multiplied. It lives in classrooms, in protests, in intertwined hands still reaching across divides. They quote your words on walls in remembrance. But the real ones, the true leaders, they live them. They show up without cameras. They chase change, not fame. They honor your legacy by being the kind of people you wanted in our world. We need more of these leaders. We fall short sometimes. We build taller buildings instead of building character. We hold cell phones instead of seeking meaning. We speak of justice in boardrooms, but whisper it too quiet in the streets. Sometimes I wonder how heavy your dream felt. People pushing against your effort and hope. Did the chaos ever scare you? Like the silence scares us now? When we speak truth into rooms built to ignore it. We've come so far, Dr. King, but the dream still breathes. Barely, bravely, we will rise. You taught us what leadership is. Leadership is not the gold-plated letters on a nameplate, but the dirt underneath your fingernails, from planting seeds you might never see bloom. I am telling you that your seed is going to bloom. Your sacrifices are going to pay off. There are young hearts listening, faint voices learning to project, feet learning to march again. They don't lead for good, they lead for gain. Nope, they lead for good and they don't lead for gain, they lead for good. Insistent on a better future beyond themselves, like you were. So, if you could look across time, you would see your dream is alive. The ladder you built is standing tall, just waiting for us to climb it. Waiting for a true leader to take the first step. Sincerely, Stella. I promise to keep marching.
That was beautiful, Stella. Thank you. I
Sorry,
really like
a bit. I mean,
No,
they don't lead for gain, they lead for
no,
good.
you did wonderful. I really like how you personify the dream as a living, breathing, organic, almost person that is living on and changing as the world changes. And the quote that you have, you taught us what leadership is. Leadership is not the gold-plated letters on a nameplate, but the dirt underneath your fingernails from planting seeds you might never see bloom. That's very powerful. That very powerful. Greg Freeland, do you have anything to ask Stella or any additions?
Well, well, I just like to say to Stella, that's a very good concept as well, King into the future and back, and so on. And I also like to say that I teach, students that are 21 years old, and how old you say you were?
13.
Ah, see there, I mean, They could use a lesson from you.
I know. And all these wise teenagers are
These college students coming in, they need some good consciousness, and I think that you are a good example of what they need before they get to college.
yeah.
So congratulations on that, and to River Ridge, I mean.
Yeah, I have another question for you, Stella, and then we'll go to Thorin so he can talk about his piece, and we'll ask him a few questions. But I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you when you say that you will keep marching? What is that significance to you personally?
Like Casimir said, I'll lead with kindness instead of harsh, like violence and things that's maybe sometimes happen in our world. And that I'll like always have him in my mind, like what he wanted and live for the sacrifices he made.
Yeah, that's great. And my thinking too was you in writing this piece is your way of keeping the legacy and the marching alive. It's sort of this idea that you are a part of the living the living dream. And I see that in you youngsters. So this is really special. Um, Thorin, nice to meet you. You said you go to Carp Junior High?
Carpentry High School. Yeah.
Carpinteria High. Okay, wonderful. Your piece, you titled it Where Power Rings. Um, and I'd like you to read it now here on air, and then I have a couple of questions for you, and then I'll ask probably a few more questions of both of you.
Okay.
So, why don't you go ahead and share your piece?
Okay. It's Where Power Rings. We search the halls where power's echoes ring and listen closely to the songs they sing, but let the call not be for crowns of gold, nor for the tales on eager tongues unrolled. The leader that the world demands must hold a different purpose in their hands. Not one in love with money's cold embrace, whose every virtue seeks a richer place, whose balance sheet outweighs the human soul, and where the soul of service is quite lost. For greed, a blinding shadow clouds the light and turns the morning of a cause to night. But give us those in love with sacred justice, who see the gap and feel the deep injustice, who build a bridge where chasms tear apart and make equality the nation's heart, whose resolve for fairness is the fire that burns away the selfish desire and fights for those who cannot plead, not one in love with flame's bright eyes, who chases headlines to the public roads, whose actions bend to win the crowd's applause and break the spirit of forgotten laws. For vanity, a pedestal too high, where truth is sacrificed beneath the sky. Every move is measured, poised, and neat to claim a spotlight on a busy street. But give us those in love with humanity, who find their worth in sanity, who feel the wounds and hold the pain, and will not work, not for profit, but for gain of dignity and comfort for the poor, and content to serve their named place. Let us rise up and seek the true way, for leaders forged in justice light the day. That's
Thank,
it.
thank you, Thorne. That was really great. I like the subtle rhyming that you do. It almost kind of makes it sound like a song. I like that. So in your piece, let me see what it says. Let us rise up and seek truer ways for leaders forged in justice, light the day. And I think that's just another call for better, more pure leadership. And I just was wondering, where do you see leadership nowadays in terms of people showing up in just ways?
I'm not sure, just I don't really know. I just felt if it felt right writing it and it felt good and my cousins were both severely harmed by racism, so it just helped me write this.
That's nice. So, yeah.
Thorne, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Dr. Freeman. Yeah.
Yeah, Thorne, for such a youngster, I'm wondering, do you have any kind of a definition of power?
in my opinion, like being able to make people listen without needing like a throne, money, having a good voice and being able to make people look at you without anything but yourself.
Okay.
I was going to ask too. So, I mean, our world is so different from talking to Stella too, talking about like how our world is so different than the world of Dr. King. How do you young people look at that world and see how things have changed, and how also I feel like life is funny as you get older, things seem so different, but yet some things just stay the same. And when we're talking about issues with power and issues with corruption, I feel like they're always sort of there and something that we must as a society deal with. And I think that's sort of what the message of Dr. King and why his message was so important. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do we rise up and become community activists in our own little ways? And maybe Dr. Freeman can kind of talk a little bit more about that, since this is such an important holiday weekend. How can people that are maybe feeling a little politically apathetic feel more empowered this weekend?
Well, first they can come and listen to these presentations.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're very good and they can learn a lot from them. And I like to say too that there's an old saying out there: if you know your history well, the future will not fail you. And they are getting into some history, so they will can look at some of the leaders in the past who have preached good messages of peace and love, and know that there's some bad things happening out there, but we need some buffers. We
Right.
need people who are aware of the good and how to go about change. For instance, they know that nonviolence is probably the way to go. I mean, you don't want to be violent with anyone, no matter what they might do to you. You want to exercise this. And reading about these leaders who pushed that and see that they were successful, um, I think is a good message for all people. So that's why I say that if they want to know something about what's going on, they should come to this event, listen to these youngsters, listen to their own children, and what they have to say about what's going on. You know, because you're like what, under 18 or 19 doesn't mean that you're unaware of your surroundings and can't be listened to.
Well, maybe what we can ask, I'd like to ask both Stella and Thorin, is what are your, at this point in your young lives, what are your greatest influences on how you live your life, do you think? Doesn't have to be related to Martin Luther King, but just how do you see these ideals in your life showing up day to day?
My mom is like one of my biggest inspirations. Everything she does, she lives for others, and she definitely like lives as Dr. King would want it. Even though it's even in the small actions, it definitely makes a big difference, especially to me.
That's so sweet. I love that. Thorin, what about you?
My cousins and my uncle, they all just taught me a huge amount about history because all three of them suffered huge amounts of racism here in Santa Barbara and mainly in LA where they lived. And it just often motivates me to do better and find light, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think just being a voice, a young voice, is so important in shedding light on change. So thank you, Stella, and thank you, Thorin. That's you're our bright future. You're our bright future. Um, Dr. Freeland, are there some additional information you can give about this weekend? I know you had mentioned that Leah Weber King, who is the widow of Dexter Scott King, Dr. King's youngest son, will be the keynote speaker. And that's this Monday, January 19th at the Arlington. I don't know, are tickets still available if people are wanting to come see her speak, or?
Yeah, there are no tickets.
It's just free.
Yeah, it's free and it's an awful, it's at Lois Theater and so on. There should be, plenty of room to show up. Leah King will be again talking about Coretta Scott King, and all the emphasis is always on Martin Luther King, that and so on. But she was a strength behind it, so I think that I just like to say that again. I think it's about time, that there's been more emphasis on the whole family, so to speak.
Right.
And Coretta Scott King is very powerful behind Luther King. And we know him partially because of who she was.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And there's a quote from Leah Weber King that's in the Independent, and she says, Dr. King's holiday arrives this year not as a relic of history, but as a mirror held up to our present moment, which that kind of reminds me of Stella's poem, talking about how forcing us to sort of look at how far we've come. And she said, his dream of a beloved community challenge us still to bridge divisions that feel wider than ever, to choose solidarity over tribalism, and to remember that the arc of justice bends only when hands do the bending, which I feel like is a very, very profound quotation, especially given just what's going on in the world, political turmoil, people not agreeing on how to handle things, but this idea that the arc of justice bends only when hands do the bending, that we must take justice into our hands as individuals and point out what is wrong and what is right. And I guess I'd like to ask Mr. Freeland, what can we talk about this holiday in relation to what's going on in the world, and why is it so important now to be loud and celebratory of Dr. King's message?
well, obviously the most current thing that comes to mind is situations happening in Minneapolis, with ICE and so on. It's creating in the community, especially in the Latino community, a lot of, uneasiness. And so I think that what Dr. King's message was will help out this situation. That is nonviolence, for example. Let's not respond to this with violence. And there are other issues that we can learn from this weekend too that are happening out there. People around the world suffering, various things that's not good. So with some prayers, some peace and love, I think it'll all work out.
I love your positivity. I love it. Okay. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here this afternoon. Thank you to Greg Freeland, the president of the Martin Luther King Committee here in Santa Barbara. I want to thank Stella for reading her beautiful poem. I want to thank Thorin also for reading his very, very moving essay. And I want to thank Casimir for being here. I wish you all three of you the best of luck reading this over this weekend. It was really a pleasure to listen to your perspectives, and I feel a little bit better about the world after talking to all of you. So happy Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I hope all of you in the community get a chance to go out and celebrate and protest and talk and be a community. And I will sign off now. This is Bridget Ginter here on Arts and Antiques, filling in for Elizabeth Stewart.